We're really pleased to have Victor Nichols, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Experian North America, a job that he's held since January 2010. As you probably know, Experian is the leading global information services company. They provide data and analytical tools to clients in more than 80 countries. And the foundation of Experian's business is the large and comprehensive consumer and commercial data sets that it owns and operates, which enable the company to offer services that help businesses manage credit risk, prevent fraud, target marketing offers, and automate decision-making, and also help individuals manage credit relationships and protect against identity theft. So clearly, Experian is very interested in the privacy policy discussions currently taking place in Washington and the various legislative proposals that are being considered. Prior to his current appointment, Victor was Chief Executive Officer of Experian in the UK and Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, and the leader of Experian's marketing services practice globally. And before joining Experian in early 2007, Victor was CIO for Wells Fargo and Company. He has an MBA from Berkeley and a bachelor's in economics from UC San Diego. It's a real pleasure to welcome Victor here.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you all and have a chance to set the stage for the consumer privacy discussion that will follow. It was mentioned I was a CIO at Wells Fargo. I was actually a second-generation CIO. So my father was a chief information officer. The reason I tell you is that I have absolutely lived with technology as part of my life since early teenage years. I think I've also got a lot of experience with technology hands-on. You've seen how it's all evolved. I adopted the view while being CIO of Wells Fargo that technology is life. Now, I'm also the father of 3 daughters, 31, 18, and 13. That tells you a couple things. One is I live a very tortured life. But the other is I have been able to witness them adopt technology in very instinctive ways that really demonstrated to me that technology is life. To me, it's so profound, it's hard to actually pinpoint often, but it would be technology to them and the generations that follow many of us in this room is as instinctive as writing instruments. If any of you needed to borrow a writing instrument from me, you have a task at hand, you want to communicate, you put down a thought, you're trying to notate a piece of functionality, something, and I toss you a pen, you will not ask me for the instruction manual, right? It could be a ballpoint, a felt point, it could be a push down slide, rip off the top, unscrew it. You won't give that a second's thought. You will just instinctively use that instrument and go about the task at hand. And that is absolutely what happens with technology when you put it in the hands of these coming generations and they want to communicate, they want to get content, information, perform some function. They don't think for a moment about what it is, and I can assure you they don't ask for the instruction manual. And I see technology as life only exploding with mobility. Now you have access to all that content and functionality anywhere, anytime, any place. I see it progressing with the explosion of data. And Eric Schmidt characterized it very well, a former CEO of Google, when he took us through the math, that from the beginning of time until the year 2003, civilization had created 5 exabytes of information. And now, some 10 years later, we create that much information every 2 days. Right? It's a massive explosion. I see technology as life progressing with the marriage of recognition, search, and social technologies, which are going to have a profound impact in the next 18 months. And then I see it progressing with consumers, ever demanding more functionality and more content over a variety of technology mediums, especially the internet. And so against that backdrop, our focus on consumer privacy is very, very important and continues to escalate as well. But there's also this fine line that I'll come back to between adding tremendous value to the consumer experience by targeting the individual and doing what my daughters refer to as creepy stuff, right? And we have to navigate that fine line. As the CEO of Experian, you probably know us best as a data bureau company, credit bureau company. We certainly do help people make credit decisions all around the globe, operating or participating in some 16 different bureaus. But for more than 50 years, we have also collected consumer information to help varieties of targeted marketing activities. And so maybe to begin, let me take a moment and just tell you more about Experian. You know the biases that I come here with. Our business purpose is really simple. Two things. We help our business clients better manage their customers. And we do that across the whole life cycle of their customers. If they're prospecting for new clients, they're trying to acquire those clients to get them to buy their goods and services. If they're managing those customers to upsell, cross-sell, retain them, or in some cases to collect on those customers. And certainly around all of that, we would help them with fraud, authentication, risk activities. And the second thing we do is we help consumers live smarter. They protect their own ID, they can protect themselves against fraud, they can manage their credit scores and credit worthiness, they gain financial literacy, and we absolutely help them shop better than they would otherwise. And so as a result, our vision is to really be at the center of the consumer economies around the globe. And as we perform those four functions of prospecting, acquiring customers, customer management, and collections, we do it through four business groups. Credit services, I already mentioned, the credit bureau business, managing that credit information, helping people get loans, and helping businesses manage the propensity to pay, propensity to buy, the credit worthiness of individuals. Decision analytics puts intelligence on that data, helps them with all sorts of scores and empirical analysis against the data and analytics functions we perform, helping identify triggers, identify fraudulent activities, and certainly, again, put more intelligence on the ability for individuals to pay. Marketing services does things very similar, but in a marketing sense, around that whole life cycle with data and analytics, and in addition runs campaigns for companies. And then in the interactive space, direct to consumer, on any given month, we will be the largest internet advertiser, certainly one of the top four, as we do everything from direct to consumer activities for our products and services, helping protect their ID and manage their scores, and also do lead generation activities. And we do this across commercial, nonprofit, and government and political agencies. So if you consider this focus, information systems, data and analytics, you consider this backdrop, it's very easy to see that we would have very strong corporate information values. And those are balance, accuracy, security, integrity, and communication. They absolutely govern everything we do, from our operations to our new projects, the inflow and the outflow of all information. And they align with the fair information practices and principles that we see embraced by organizations all around the globe. But all of this really codifies our belief that the use of information must benefit businesses and individuals while simultaneously meeting the privacy expectations. And that is very critical. Clients rely on us because we do have financial strength. We fuel a lot of innovation in this space, even during tough times. We have domain expertise with individuals that understand these various disciplines very deeply, with years of experience, many of which have worked for our customers, as I have, and gone in both directions. They work with us because of our global presence. We are headquartered in Dublin, Ireland, operate globally out of London, with our North America operation being headquartered in Orange County. 1 out of 3 of our clients use us in at least one other country outside the US. And we have a very strong commitment to communities that we work in, as I'm sure we all do here. particularly as it relates to improving financial literacy. So, information is our core backbone. Information enhances economic productivity. Our fundamental point of view is threefold. Information sharing is good for consumers. Consumer privacy is a must and good for business, and data security is essential for both. We believe that done right, responsible information sharing significantly enhances economic productivity in the U.S. It is, in fact, the secret ingredient to a lot of our economic success, and we're not alone in this belief. A number of notable economists, have said the same thing, in fact, that information sharing is the secret ingredient to our economic success. It is the cornerstone to our economy. No other country in the world has the information sharing infrastructure and capabilities that we have here in the U.S. And so that sets the stage for the debate that is now happening about the future of information sharing, and in particular a debate titled Consumer Privacy, which is shorthand for that issue. And it's happening on a domestic and an international basis, and we absolutely are engaged in that conversation and enjoy the debate. So let's talk a little bit about what this really means, especially for the consumer. The consumer's concern about privacy is absolutely real and very understandable. I don't want to say anything that takes that away. It's critically important that we recognize it's understandable and very real. And as businesses, we need to take the aggressive position to make sure we're looking out for our consumer clients and that we are protecting consumer privacy. I think we would all agree in business that customer service is a critical element to business and business growth. And our view is that consumer privacy needs to be a critical element of that customer service. If we just adopt the mindset that within customer service, customer or consumer privacy is a core element of that, we will go a long ways towards meeting their continued expectations. Now, at the same time, we have to recognize that the general concerns expressed about online privacy are often trumpeted by the internet experience, the demand for that content and the functionality, the communication capability wherever and whenever they want to do that. I have my middle daughter, who I just dropped off before coming here to her first year of college in San Francisco. You'd be shocked to see how fast she moved from being the Orange County surfer girl to the San Francisco liberal. Didn't take very long at all. And as we'd have, I can incite debates very quickly, as you might imagine, about consumer privacy. If any sitting gets bored, I say, hey, guess what I have? I have information all about people all around the world, and we use that to help do targeted marketing. And you can just sit back and enjoy the conversation, right? And so, and of course, she was quick to take the sides as her friends were, but it never dumbfounds me. Almost always, the conversation is interrupted for a moment because they have to post something really important to their 900 friends on Facebook, right? I try to assure them they do not have 900 friends. They might have 900 people very interested in what they're going to post out there, but they don't have 900 friends. So the consumer demand for the functionality is a core point. We have to navigate that fine line, and I'm often perplexed myself about where we're going to draw it, and I think that line moves, and it absolutely varies by culture, and I'll come back to talk about that more. But nonetheless, consumer privacy is real, it's understandable, and it's a central component of customer service. We need to adopt it that way, and there's three core elements to it. First, being more transparent about what information we collect, why, and how we use it. We need to be transparent and very open about that. Second, we need to then allow consumers control with an easy opt-out option, so they're in control of how it's being utilized. And then third, and most important, we have to keep the consumer information very safe. We need to do those three things as a core part of our customer service. Now, policymakers, and I understand there's many policymakers here, have a very important say in all of this as well. We need to hear their views on the challenges that we have to meet. We have to hear their views on the societal expectations. But in business, we should not wait for those views. Nobody knows our customers and the fine line and their needs better than we do in business. And we need to be very proactive and self-regulating by, again, making consumer privacy part of customer service. So technology is a natural part of the lives for many consumers today, and they show it in their usage, which is just phenomenal. Very strong demand, again, for content, internet commerce, and services. Look in the retail industry alone, despite the recession, how it continues to grow in terms of that online commerce. Look at the 3.5 billion pieces of information being put on social networks every week. American consumers are already demonstrating that they depend and rely on us to protect their privacy. They show that in their heavy utilization of the internet. And we have to respond to that in kind and make sure we are upholding their expectations for consumer privacy. Now, there's a lot of benefits that they get from this information sharing with the understanding that it will be protected and their privacy will be protected. They certainly enjoy greater competition, lower prices, better quality offerings across a variety of products and services, certainly more convenience and product improvements as feedback is more easily captured and put into R&D. You get credit improvements across all frameworks, particularly for small and medium-sized businesses, which are important for them to make sales. And you certainly get fraud and authentication services that help the consumer as well. So they're getting a lot of benefits from this with privacy as a cornerstone, and it's one of the reasons that we see it as a secret ingredient, and we see the consumers continuing to embrace technology aggressively in the US. So we believe that responsible information sharing is an enabler, that it is working very well, but we can all do a lot better looking forward if we focus on that enhanced transparency, easier consumer choice, and added data security. Now let's talk about data and its importance in this, the information sharing first and foremost. And it's driven by a desire that's been around forever for companies to know their customers better so they can better target their offering and services to their individual clients. In a physical world, we see it today, and we've seen it in generations past, where bankers or store merchants would certainly try to understand all their clients and know them personally so that they could be stocked with the goods that they thought they would most need, so they could try to influence a sale for the products that they thought they would most need. There's nothing new in that phenomena as it enters the digital space. It's just when technology is life, it becomes very complex. And you now have this fine line to navigate. But it's a fine line we all see every day in our personal lives. And I'll give you just a couple examples that I've experienced within the last week. One that you guys all experience constantly. I go into Starbucks. I go into the store around the same time. Each morning, I see sort of the same people there. I order my same double tall non-fat latte. By Thursday of the week, what happens? Hello, Victor. Good to see you this morning. Will you have your usual double tall non-fat latte? Wow, is that creepy? I think that's valuable. Moving me through the line quickly, like that pleasant touch. Seems fine to me. I don't mind that there's 6 people behind me that know what I'm ordering. I don't mind that they know my name. Seems good, helps things out, right? Go through it every day. How about I'm in Nordstrom's? Another environment, absolutely, where they train their people to be very attentive to the customer, help them in every way possible, find the merchandise they're looking for that they can't find in the stores. I'm looking for a belt. I see the belt I like. I try 2 or 3 on. They're all too short. Don't have my size. I walk off. Woman runs up to me, introduces herself to me, asks me my name. I tell her I'm Victor. She says, you know, I saw you over there. It looked like you couldn't find the size you wanted. I had a larger size for that belt you were looking at in the back. Thought I'd bring it to you just in case you're interested. Is that creepy? I think that's great value. Love that. I'm good with that. Happy with that, right? Good service, great value. Now, but let's just take it a couple steps further and then I'll move on. There's lots of dimensions to this. I'm not trying to pretend for a moment I'm covering them all. I'm grossly oversimplifying it, but just humor me for a second. Imagine that I had stepped outside the Nordstrom. I had walked about 10 feet away, and she came out the door and grabbed me and said, hey, I saw you couldn't find one that fit your large size. Here's, I pulled it off the back. Are you interested? You know what? For me, I'm still good with that. That's great service. I'm back in the store. I'm buying it. Maybe others not. What if I never went in the store? I was at the vendor merchant stand outside the store on the sidewalk, looking at the belts. Couldn't find the size. Walked off down the street. Never went in the store. And out she runs. Hey, saw you looking at the belts on the stand. I've got one very similar in our store that might fit a fat guy like you. Right? Would you like to? Is that crossing the line? You have to decide. It's a fine line and it varies, right? Might be of great value. So we need the responsible collection and use of shared information where technology is life to navigate through this and provide tremendous value to individuals in a targeted manner, while at the same time making sure we foster innovation and fraud detection. And we help across all these facets here, help the consumers. And we also know it's accelerating, isn't it? So you can imagine the horrible discussions in the early days of TV, which took over a decade to reach epidemic proportions and be populated within the US homes. You can just imagine RCA saying to NBC, you know, you really got to introduce some more programs here so I can then get the consumer interested and sell some more TVs. And NBC saying, you got it all backwards. You got to get more TVs out there in the homes so I can convince the advertisers to make investments in more programs. Today, that same monetization of technology with consumers happens, but it happens lightning fast with targeted programs that moves technology through its cycle very quickly and closes that chicken and egg controversy. So it monetizes in ways that creates wide adoption very quickly and speeds up the pace of economic growth. I think it's a critical secret ingredient. But behind all of that, consumer privacy is paramount and already is an essential component and must be an essential component going forward. Let's talk about third-party data in particular, something as you can tell is near and dear to my heart. As policy makers debate information sharing, they often get to the subject of, hey, but what about those third parties? Maybe their data should be restricted. And I'm amazed how quickly most of our business clients throw us under the bus. Yeah, go pick on those guys, right? They try to defer it towards us. And you know, it's just unrealistic. Responsible information sharing, in fact, starts with companies like Experian and our third-party business. And businesses, thousands of businesses, our clients, many in this room, are absolutely critically dependent on it today. Critically dependent on it to make decisions about your customers and to do that targeted marketing, make decisions about credit, fraud, and other activities. Third-party data is every bit as crucial as your own data. And in fact, there's no business today that could rely solely on their data to do authentication, to ward off fraud, to make credit decisions, let alone to really target the customer throughout their life cycle for the products and services they're really after and want, right? In all cases, third-party data and the sharing of data responsibly is utilized. And it originated in simple examples on the marketing side of, say, you know, an LL Bean using phishing license data to decide who to send catalogs to. Third-party data has been a critical element and will be, but the information sharing has to be very responsible. In particular, just to emphasize it again, authentication, fraud detection is a non-starter if every business relies on their data only. You need that third-party information sharing. We know this is a real issue. And as I said, security is essential in everything we do. We all have various opinions about President Obama's cybersecurity initiative, but certainly it calls for third-party data in all forms of authentication being entertained. And for access to credit, we know you can't access and fully make decisions about credit worthiness using your own data. Third-party data is paramount there as well, and is used heavily to do it in an instantaneous manner or in a thoughtful manner. Interesting enough, third-party data is also, I just want to add this, is used by a lot of politicians, used to understand the accuracy of their voter base, to better reach out to them, and in fact to target them in a marketing, in the same sense that we do our marketing programs today. Many politicians use our third-party data to that end. So responsible information sharing is important. Third-party data sharing is important. Consumer privacy is important. And data security is absolutely essential. And where do we go from here? As I already indicated, that fine line's tough to navigate. I think it's very cultural. My experience in the UK, Europe, Middle East, and Africa was that we can't merely adopt, say, directives like they have in the EU and think they're working in the EU, let alone that they would work here. My experience is they are not working there. They have directives, they've been poorly adopted and implemented, and they don't account for the many variances in the cultural views about where that line should be drawn. And as a result, I don't think they're very effective, and probably in the same regard, they sort of take a bit of wind out of their own economy as they try to navigate them. I think what we need is a balance between some laws and structure and a policy structure, and first and foremost, that self-regulation and best business practices. And we have a number of existing laws today, so we don't need to stand still waiting for it. Certainly they may evolve further, but we have a baseline and a regulatory framework here in the US, and that we're in a good position to now focus on that self-regulation that is needed, and a great concern of businesses in making sure that consumer privacy is part of that customer service. And we consider the need to continue growing aggressively through technologies and support that implementation and move through the monetization of those technologies quickly. That self-regulation will stand out as being even more important, because I think we all understand that laws and regulations cannot move as fast as businesses can in response to the consumer need. If a large number of consumers stopped using our technologies because they were concerned about a particular consumer privacy issue, rest assured the businesses would respond very quickly to shore that gap up and address it. And that's what's going to be required for us to maintain our posture on technology. Industry self-regulation, therefore, provides the flexible approach that can keep the pace with these advancements in the technology, providing consumers with the transparency and the choice they need. Now, there will undoubtedly be areas where heightened protections are needed, and they'll happen across all industries. So let's not pretend like that's not the case either. But the laws certainly aren't going to do it alone, and we cannot wait for them. We understand the consumer's needs. We need to take self-regulation at hand now, make it part of customer service, and we need to do that by being more transparent about how and why and where we're going to use the data and information, making sure the consumers have the control that they want, make it easy for them to say no, and keep the data very secure, first and foremost. And if we do that, then information sharing can be the secret ingredient that our economy needs going forward. I think we should be a bit loud about this. Hopefully I'm not coming across as timid on this subject. I don't think any of us in business can afford to be. My position would be very clearly stated. We share information among our affiliates and third parties. We do it in a responsible manner that benefits and protects consumers and enhances our nation's overall economic performance. and we're proud of that position and want to stand behind that. And so in conclusion, as we get set for the panel that will follow next, information sharing is good for consumers. Consumer privacy is absolutely good for business. Data security is essential for both. Responsible sharing of information makes businesses much more efficient, consumers' lives easier and safer, results in more competition, lower costs, more choice, more convenience for those consumers. Third-party data sharing absolutely protects consumers even further and businesses alike, and facilitates access to credit, prevents fraud, makes communications more relevant, and enhances the consumer safety. And a policy environment that recognizes the positive role data plays is key to our national productivity. And by constantly evolving and self-regulating, we can respond to the consumer needs that we know best. We're happy to be able to advance this conversation. Thank you very much.